Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we get to hang out with homeopathic goddess Miranda Castro. Welcome to the show. It's so lovely to have you on today, Miranda. I have nicknamed you Homeopathic Goddess because of the decades of incredible work that you have done to bring homeopathy to the homes, to the mothers, in their hands, make it usable, make it relatable. So that's a title very well deserved. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eugenie. It's great to be here. I accept most humbly, the honor of the title, and I will try to live up to it.
You henceforth shall be known as Homeopathic Goddess.
No.
So for those that don't know you, who I can't imagine there's anyone in the world like that, can you tell them a little bit about your homeopathic journey, how you were introduced to it, and how it's evolved from there?
You know, it's been a part of my whole life. It was our family doctor growing up was a naturopath, and he used homeopathy and herbs and tissue salts when we were sick. So, I mean, I hated the herbal tinctures. They were always truly vile, but those cell salts and the little homeopathic pills, they were brilliant. And he was an osteopath too, so he did adjustments, and he was a kind man. And I did need the doctors from time to time, but hardly at all. And then when I left home at 16, I went to the homeopathic pharmacy and I got a 36 remedy kit and all 12 cell salts in one little box. And I got a couple of books. They were slim books. They weren't anything very fancy. I don't think I had much of a choice, but I got the books that were available. So Gibson's First Aid in Accidents and Ailments. And that's all I used for, 10 years more, 12 years at least. You know, I lived in the mountains in France for a few years doing a hippie thing. And,
wow.
You know, none of us needed the doctor. I would just, I got cystitis or, a sore throat or a cough, whatever it was. I just would get all out my, kit. And
have you still got that kit? Because I listened to an interview you did many years ago and you said, I still have the kit. And I was like, oh, I wonder if you still have it.
I had it until last year when it finally, because it's a cardboard box, it finally started. In Florida, it's so humid here. The mold finally got to it and it fell apart.
Oh, you've been all over the world because you started out in the UK, hey?
Yeah, I'm British and a Londoner. And how I came to homeopathy is a different story, I mean, I have told it before, so I apologize. And I've written about it. Daniel, my son, was born when I was 28. And when he was about 2, he got whooping cough, or a bit younger. And he got it very badly, and it lasted for months, like it can do, months and months, 6 months altogether. And the first few months were pretty bad, 3 months, coughing and vomiting. At night, he would wake coughing and vomiting many times during the night. So I gave him good remedies. I gave him Drosera, which is the number 1 remedy for whooping cough. I gave him, when he got stuck, I called the pharmacy in England, the homeopathic pharmacists, they will advise you.
Wow.
And I gave him Pitocin, 30C. It helped, but it didn't hold. So then I went on this long trek from one alternative healthcare practitioner to the next. I went to 4 homeopaths, 2 doctors who both gave routine prescriptions. So that is the first doctor, who was very expensive, private, Harley Street. He actually gave prescription with 4 remedies. And he said, give one for 3 days. If it doesn't work, go to the next. So over 12 days, we tried each one. None of them helped.
Wow.
I mean, and then one of the other practitioners was Rudolf Steiner, homeopath, anthroposophical homeopath. Something which we know what it is, but I didn't. He spent the whole consultation flicking through a book, to and fro. And so I didn't know what that meant, but I was, just going with the flow like you do in a doctor's office. And he gave a complicated prescription, herbal tea, drops, a remedy, several remedies alternating at different times of day. Didn't do a thing. And I came to this is the conclusion I came to. I said, oh, he must be still studying. That's why he was looking in the book. He just doesn't know much.
And we're laughing because, every consult I have, I'm flicking through my book, 10 years later still. And that's not why we look through it.
We look in the repertories.
Yeah.
But I learned from that experience to say so, to tell my patients what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
they're not sitting there thinking, what on earth is this about? It's like, so, our experiences inform us, don't they, to some extent. And the final homeopath was, I lived in the country. He was a gentleman farmer. He used Barraquis Materia Medica, and he said, homeopathy helps my animals. It's really good, and my family and my friends, I'll have a go. And so he had a go, and the remedy didn't work. I washed my hands. I said, this homeopathy, it's good for, not very serious acute illnesses. But once you're really sick, it's worthless. I gave up. I went to other healthcare practitioners, all kinds of interesting people, and some of them helped a lot and some of them, but nothing helped. We got the same problem. So I was, do you know what radionics is in Australia?
Yeah.
So this is distant healing. And you send a practitioner a lock of hair or a drop of blood, some source material from the person who wants to be treated. In England, the racehorses all get treated by radionics practitioners. Wow. I found a good one. I sent her a piece of, a little lock of Daniel's hair, and her treatments were astonishing. He would be well for a whole week at a time, and then, boom, he relapsed.
Oh, wow.
So finally, she says to me, I checked out what he needs, and he needs homeopathy. And I just thought that was the funniest thing I'd heard. I said, nah. She asked me to tell her what my experience had been. I went through it all, and she said, yeah, you haven't seen a classical homeopath, have you? I don't know. So because what she had doused using her magic, pendulum, whatever, was that Daniel had a miasmatic block. She said he's got a miasm. Nothing you do will help until that's removed. And the only thing that can remove it is a homeopath who knows what they're doing and can work with inherited weaknesses. Okay, I'll try it, because she was very, very certain and very strong. She gave me a referral. I called the practitioner. He prescribed Pertussin 200C.
Oh.
I didn't know about going up in potency when the lower ones stop working, if they work very well. Overnight, the vomiting stopped. A week later, we went in for a full intake, a full first consultation. And it was a very different experience. It wasn't just give me the symptoms. It looked at his whole picture. And he gave then a deep acting remedy in the high potency, and the cough disappeared overnight.
That is a powerful message with some incredible lessons in there for our listeners as well, who, if you've gone to a couple of practitioners, just don't give up, because when you do find that correct remedy, then, it will really work on such a deep level. And how amazing for you, like the universe was just pulling you back. You were destined to make this your life's work.
I had trained as an acupuncturist at this point. But during my pregnancy, I was doing my clinical training. I had a hard pregnancy and a hard birth. And after the birth, I couldn't help either myself or Daniel with any of our problems with acupuncture, with any of the, emotional healing, nothing. And I fell out with acupuncture. I said, this is it was partly the school I went to, but also, every system of healing has its limitations. It's good to know what they are. And I thought, oh man, I can't help people to help themselves with acupuncture. They have to keep coming back to me for healing. So it didn't really agree with that part of me. When I saw constitutional homeopathy work like a charm, like a miracle, after so much hadn't worked, I said, I want more. And I was in homeopathy school within a month.
Wow.
And the rest kind of is history. So I've been on a mission since then, because I got it in a heartbeat that first aid prescribing brings people into homeopathy. But if you're just looking at symptoms, if you just look at sore throat or cystitis or injury, whatever it is, and you pick a remedy, one of the top remedies, even if you cycle through the top 4, 6, whatever, it's still hit and miss. It's you're guessing. So once I understood from my training how important the whole picture is, oh man, now I was on a mission to, I said, I wonder if I can teach people that, just scale it back for the home prescriber and teach my patients how to help themselves with simple pictures and like a mini index of symptoms, a mini repertory. And I wrote that up and I taught it, and it was really successful. So I just got more and more ambitious. I said, okay, I'll write the book. But that was hard. That was really so much work. And it took me years to really end up with a product that has now continuously been in print for 30 years or something. 35.
And you've sold like 250,000 copies or something like that. And even
500,000 now.
500,000 now. I was wondering whether it might be a bit outdated. And I just want to say the name of the book for those listeners out there. It's called The Complete Homeopathy Handbook. It is a nice chunky one with all the incredible information in there you could possibly want. Yeah, beautiful. I've got the one that's got a different cover on it.
The English. So it's a Home Prescribers, a mini version of what I use in my consulting room. And you can't look up a symptom and get a remedy. You have to work up the case. You have to figure, okay, what are the general symptoms here? Is my kid more or less thirsty than usual? Are they sweating with the fever or not? What kind of pain is it? And what started before the pain? What started it off? Was there a stressor that an injury or an upset at school or a death in the family, something that set it off. And you build all that into a little picture, write it down, and see which remedies are in each one of the symptoms, and then read the picture, each picture, for the remedies that are well indicated. And 9 times out of 10, you go, boom, it's got to be Calcarea carbonica, it fits. And amazing. How did Miranda know that my kid craves eggs?
It is amazing. Sometimes it feels like, as homeopathy psychic, like, how do they know this weird thing that it's like a little, confirmatory.
But once you get a picture, then everything else tends to fall into place. And it's just beautiful.
It really is. And you've managed to do something that very few homeopaths have done. And that is to actually, like, this book is almost like a mainstream book, because I checked and we can buy it over here in Dimmicks in Australia. So, it's like a very mainstream bookshop. So this book is so accessible. It's so powerful, so well laid out. I love that you have the little picture, like a small picture of the remedy.
You did. Thank you.
Well, it is. It's very helpful. There are so many homeopathy books out there, but not that many of them that are really user friendly. And yours has.
I had a goal to translate all the jargon, all the homeo speak into just ordinary English, and I had never written anything when I had the idea to write this book. Nothing. I'd written nothing. So I got a lot of help. I got help from writers, and I got an agent who got me a contract with a mainstream publisher who knew they had to help me write it.
Wow. Without a previous writing history, you managed to do that.
It couldn't happen today.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen. So my first manuscript was ridiculous. It was, the first draft was, it was 500,000 words, and we did 6 edits. My editor edited it. I rewrote it 6 times. That wouldn't happen today. So I am so grateful to all the people who helped me along the way. I mean, so grateful. And I'm very proud of it. It's done its job. It stood the test of time. And actually, it had an unintended consequence. What I wanted was to get the home prescriber passionate as me about classical homeopathy, understanding it, being willing to do a little bit of extra work, because it seems like a drag at the time that you're doing it. You want a quick fix. And then when you see that amazing result, when you have that experience, especially with a sick kid, you go, yeah, that was worth it. I could have taken way more time and cycled through way more remedies and not gotten this result. But the unintended consequence is that people got such good results that some of them decided to go to homeopathy school.
Amazing.
And when I teach in colleges now, I say, who started with my book? I learned to ask that because people come up to me sort of excitedly,
like me.
Fangirls.
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling you, I'm like the hugest fangirl.
And so one time, half the class were there. I was in an Irish school, and half the class were there because they'd started out with my book, and it just was so inspirational to see such beautiful healing. I mean, this is an elegant system of healing, and it does not help all the people all the time. Nothing does, but it is just beautiful.
So you must have a gazillion stories that you can share with us with all of these years of experience behind you. And it was actually
Here are the stories I brought for you today.
Okay.
I brought the stories where indicated remedies didn't work. You think, oh, a bad burn. I went to New Zealand to teach. Susanna Shelton.
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, your podcasts are amazing.
Thank
you
you.
know that? You know that they are a literal treasure trove.
Oh, thank
I've
you so
listened
much.
to 1,000 of them now. And I feel this incredible connection to a worldwide web of homeopathic healers. I mean, honestly, we're an amazing group of people. And what you're doing is connecting us all. And it is
Thank you
just
so much.
beautiful.
You are giving me all over body goosebumps, but thank you so much. And it's a funny thing because I feel like when us homeopaths chat with each other, there is this instant connection because I think we're such a passionate bunch because, we know we can help the world so much. And so there is that instant connection. But Susanna is really special. She taught at the college where I trained in New Zealand. So she had already left by the time I was there, but now she's back at that same college.
So I arrive. I'm hot off the plane. They hosting me in their house. We arrive in their house. I've been on a 23-hour plane ride. My computer is long dead. I plug it in. Because I bought an adapter, I plug it in. I guess there was something very wrong with the adapter. It literally blew up in my hand. So the whole room filled with black smoke, smelling of burnt flesh and plastic and metal. And I mean, I've had a lot of interesting accidents in my life. If it weren't for homeopathy, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I wouldn't be dead, but I might be sort of incapacitated in a wheelchair or something, just crying into my soup. So anyway, when I have an accident, I go in, I closed my hand. I didn't, I have to gather my forces. I didn't know how badly injured I was. I said bathroom, and I went found the sink, put my hand under the cold water and just slowly opened it. It was completely black.
Wow.
And waited for the pain, because that will come, you're in shock at first.
Adrenaline.
And I could only feel it in one finger. So then I rubbed a little bit and I was very lucky. It had singed my skin, but I had a hole in my middle finger, which hadn't cut, tendons or nerves. I could still do this with my finger.
Mm.
So they had a doctor friend who came round and she cleaned it and debrided it and dressed it.
Oh.
Looked bad. It was very bad. Deep. And she said, don't take the bandage off for 3-5 days. I forget what she said. Don't say don't to me. So then I took, it's a 3rd degree deep burn. I took causticum like you do every 5-7 minutes. It had no effect whatsoever. It didn't help even one jot. And so now I think I tried a couple of other remedies. I don't remember which now. They didn't help either. So now what do? Susanna was the brilliant person in this situation. She said, hang on a sec. The lesion is, it's got clean edges, yes, her doctor friend did clean it up nicely, but the actual wound had clear edges and it looked like it had been punched out. So a punched out, that is a keynote, punched out ulcers in particular, but also very severe burns. When you put those two together, you get one remedy. And it's Kali bichromicum, Calibic.
It's not a remedy I ever would have thought of for burns.
Me neither. But it's almost a specific for chemical and electrical burns, but also old burns that haven't healed, that aren't healing.
Wow.
It's like a 4th degree burn almost. Anyway, within minutes of, I don't even remember what potency, probably a 200. But it could have been a 30C. It doesn't matter. The right remedy will work in any potency. It just, it felt so much better. So then I ripped off the bandages. This is now 2 hours after she put them on.
Not the 3 to 5 days. Mental note to self, don't say don't to Miranda.
And you could see it visibly healing. So, I mean, we want to be able to help lots of people. This is where homeopathy fails, where you have to work hard and know lots.
Yeah.
Your knowledge base has to be really wide in order to help people, more of the people, more of the time. And if you don't know the remedy, what happened? So I injured my shoulder. I mean, it was bad. I fell onto my outstretched hand, my whole body, the weight of my whole body shunted back and caused a bursitis. I didn't know that, but initially. And I don't know, for people who've had bursitis of the shoulder, it's agony. I mean, literally so painful. I tried so many remedies, maybe a dozen, maybe 20. I mean, I took great remedies, or my homeopathic practitioner worked really hard, worked up my symptoms, because it was a fairly straightforward injury. At one point, I went and got a steroid shot. It was that painful, I couldn't sleep. And I went to the ER and I said, I need an X-ray to make sure it isn't broken. And then if it isn't broken, I want a steroid shot. So people will be shocked to hear this, I think. But I hope not so much, because that's what they're there for.
And also, sleep is so important and so healing in itself. And if you're not able to sleep because of the pain. Exactly.
I was really desperate, and desperate measures need desperate solutions, and steroids are just like miracle. Well, when the pain started to return, I knew I was on a hiding to nothing, as we say. Do you say that?
No, I haven't heard that one.
It means, I don't know where it comes from, but it means that you're going nowhere fast, basically. That's going to be diminishing returns over time. And then the side effects will kick in. It's all, no good. I had terrible, sharp stitching pains, worse for the slightest movement. Breathing was agony. Because the actual effort of taking a breath made the shoulder move at the tiniest bit, and that hurt.
Wow.
Heat helped. Those were the only two symptoms I had. So it was worse for the slightest movement, better for heat. But using those two symptoms didn't get us a remedy that helped me. And 1 o'clock one night, when the pain really started ramping up and I knew I wasn't going to sleep, I said, okay, homeopathy, prove yourself. And I went to my desk and I vowed to stay there until I found the remedy. And what I did was I took these symptoms and I made them into the bigger, more general symptoms. So pain, worse movement, and better heat. And I had hundreds of remedies. And I went through them all in Allen, the big encyclopedia of remedies, materia medica. I went through every single one, and it took me 5 hours because it was a remedy that started with R.
We've got a lot of R remedies, a lot of A, B, C's, and R's and S's.
That's right, we do. A through R, I might probably read 150 remedies in that time, really carefully, every remedy. Ranunculus bulbosus. So buttercup. So this is a remedy that has severe, terrible stitching pains, exhausting, people cry from the pain. Worse for the slightest movement, but you won't see that in the repertory. Worse for movement and better for heat. And you know, all I had inherited all the remedies from a homeopath that had retired. And luckily there was a old bottle from one of the pharmacies from 50 years ago,
Wow.
previously, a 3X.
Oh, really? Just a 3X?
The pills were brown from, age. They had, like, the saccharum lactose had degraded. And I took a dose, and immediately the pain started to ease up. And I it up to a 6X, and it got better. And over 2 years, each time the pain returned, I would take either the same potency or a slightly elevated one until I got to a 200C. After about 2 years, the pain returned after I, did something foolish that involved lifting a heavy item. And I haven't had the pain since then.
So, Miranda, I have a question for you. When you took that ranunculus 3X, did you think it would work? Being that low?
I didn't know.
Because I was saying to one of my staff just this morning that I think us homeopaths are the biggest skeptics, because I've had, this will be probably, however many episode, but when I do these 7 a.m. recordings with my guests in America, my throat takes a few hours in the morning to really get going. But this morning I took the Narayani throat chakra remedy, and I actually forgot that I'd taken it. But at one stage, 10 minutes later, it sounds funny that I forgot 10 minutes later, but I was kind of busy and I just took it and I just, did some other things. And then I was like, my throat is so much better. That thing that is stuck in there is gone. I'm like, how is this working? How could it work that fast? And it's not supposed to work. How is it working? So, us homeopaths are not like blind believers. We are skeptics ourselves. And still, when these remedies work, they blow us away. Yeah, we should be. Because, a 3X ranunculus, it just goes against everything that we're taught. It shouldn't work.
It does? No, it doesn't. Doesn't go against everything I've been taught.
Okay.
The right remedy will work in any potency.
It's true, yeah.
And I have tested on myself, because people say homeopathy is safe and it can do no harm, right? I do not say that. I think it makes us sound a little bit childlike, as a profession, because anything that can affect such amazing healing responses, it's capable of harm. It must be, logically. Question is how. Of course, we're not killing people. Remedies aren't that powerful, and they're not toxic. They're not toxic. But we test them on healthy people to see what symptoms they would elicit. And so, if you're a home prescriber and you overdo a remedy, it will elicit symptoms you might not have had before. Well, those symptoms will go away if you stop taking it, but they are experienced by people as side effects, and they are a kind of side effect. They're just a different interpretation of it. So I do really advise caution. If a remedy doesn't work, don't keep taking it. If it does work, don't keep taking it.
Exactly.
It's what's so beautiful about it. It stimulates your body to heal itself. And then after that, you can get on with your life. You don't need to think about it.
As you just mentioned about side effect, it just suddenly popped up in my mind that we don't actually have anything such as a side effect in homeopathy, because a side effect is if you get an effect that's different to what you expect from the remedy. But the reality is the remedies can produce so many different symptoms in different people sort of. So I don't know if side effect, I think another thing, this is just a side topic, is I think we need to rethink the words that we use in homeopathy. And my husband keeps telling me, you need to stop calling it homeopathy. You need to, like, globally as homeopaths need to start calling it nanomedicine or, just like some of the wording that we use. But
I agree. Yeah, because the most common way people say it to me, I'll say, I'm a homeopath. And I say, oh, yes, I tried that. It didn't work.
Exactly.
How do you say it? And then they'll say, how do you say it? Homeopathy. Homeopathy. I mean, it is a mouthful and it's not familiar to people. The one thing I regret in my book is calling the index of symptoms a repertory and putting a repertorization chart in there. That's a mouthful. I'm sorry I didn't translate that.
But I think that's also why your book is so effective, is that actually, apart from the repertory thing, it's used in language that normal people can understand. And that's why when I do my homeopathy intro courses, all of the language that we get trained, I just convert that into language that is actually usable, because we can use all these fancy terms that we use in homeopathy and make us sound really smart. But if it's not usable, user-friendly, actionable, something that the general public resonate with, they're not going to use it. And that's why also I hope that we stop putting the strangeness of homeopathy to the side and just make it usable and actionable. And I think that's what's going to ensure the longevity of it, because if homeopathy is strange, people are not going to resonate with it. So
yeah, I do also, I like what your husband said. I agree with him, actually.
Oh, he'll be very happy to hear that.
And I worry about us using the word cure. I feel that, we're overstating our abilities. We can help people. And I see myself as a homeopathic healer. So I can offer healing to everybody, but cure is it's a tall order. And we've sort of set the goal posts, if you like, too high through only publishing our cured cases with single remedies. So we've made people, I don't know,
unrealistic expectations, eh?
Totally. Yeah. So I would love to see the word healing used. Where energy. It's an energy healer. This is energy medicine in a bottle. That's it. That's how I look on it. I mean, now we've got that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's more of that going to start coming out. It's going to be very interesting, especially with, the Homeopathic Research Institute and the things that they're coming up with.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
I really feel in the next, decade or so, we're going to have a much better explanation for how homeopathy works. And when we do, that's really going to be a clincher, I think, for a lot of people who are just a little bit skeptical.
I hope so.
Yeah, I just choose not to wait that long to use something that's incredibly effective. Why would you want to do that? If it works, then use it.
No, it's about how we talk about it and how it spreads. I think using it is brilliant, and teaching about it, we have to. We're on a mission. And it heals from the inside out. That's the other beautiful thing about it. Like I said, super elegant.
Yeah, and something that I always like to attach on there, I think the listeners are going to be sick of me saying it, but it's so sustainable. And in this day and age where it's all about sustainability, homeopathy really is the medicine for that, for the future.
Yes, affordable and sustainable.
Absolutely.
I mean, my remedies that I carried around for 40, 50 years, they carried on working. That is brilliant, isn't it?
Amazing. Now, Miranda, I quickly just want to chat about your shop. So your website is mirandacastro.com, and you've got a great online shop with your books there, and you've got kits, and you've got some creams that you make yourself, and you've got creams and things from Helios and other pharmacies as well. Oh, wonderful.
These are mine.
Yeah, great. So for our listeners, this is going to be on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Or inflammation from arthritis or injury. And then for scars, that's
Okay.
my scars cream that I developed for newly delivered mothers with their episiotomies and C-section scars. And Helios custom made it for me for many years. And then I tweaked it and found a manufacturer, and it's pretty good. It
Now
really works.
You must be somebody that likes to work with your hands. Because before we started recording, you showed me a plant that you have outside that you said you can use it as like a conditioner for your hair. So you obviously are.
Ginger. Yes, I forget which ginger is which Latin name, but I do. I love to garden. It's one of my favorite things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So Miranda, this has been like a dream come true for me chatting with you today. But before we finish off, tell me about your favorite 3 remedies, because I haven't done this in ages. Yeah, tell me.
Bellis perennis. Because arnica doesn't always work. It's a really good specific, but it doesn't always work, and it hardly ever works for me, whatever I've got. I'm never okay after I injure myself. Never okay. That's the keynote for arnica. Yeah. I want people to comfort me. So someone who needs arnica says, don't touch me. I'll be fine. I'm okay, with blood pouring from the head.
Yeah.
Remedy, Bellis perennis is better than arnica for certain injuries and situations. They have deep aching, deep bruising after an injury. Arnica doesn't work, and there are sore, bruised pains, especially the abdomen or the pelvic organs. It's brilliant after childbirth, where that whole area is battered.
We were told it's the remedy for the boobs and the balls.
And those, I like that. I was going to say breasts and testicles.
Oh, we can do that.
Boobs and balls is way more fun.
Bellis for boobs and balls. And Bellis, of course.
Glands.
Glands.
Yes, that's what it's, the injury. And lumps and bumps remaining, especially in the breasts after an injury, Bellis. For the groin gland, when later in pregnancy, like the 3rd trimester, where the baby, especially after the baby's head engages and walking becomes really painful, you can get these sudden pains that take you down. I don't know if you ever had that, but Bellis perennis is a specific for that.
Wow. I am so glad that you mentioned that. That's amazing. And they're both daisies. So Bellis and arnica are both daisies from the daisy family.
They're both the little plants at our feet. Yes. So I'm all about what happens when a remedy that you think should work doesn't. Don't give up. Find another one. So gelsemium is a favorite of mine. It's been brilliant for COVID. If you need gelsemium, even if you're a homeopath, you will never know it, because you cannot think. That's a keynote for someone needing gelsemium. I had a bad flu. I took a load of remedies, nothing worked. I had a friend visit who's a homeopath. She took one look at me, asked one question, and put gelsemium in my mouth. And I was well overnight. Now, I was thirstless. That's what she asked me. Are you drinking? No, I'm not thirsty. But I couldn't. And so I noted the gestalt of how I felt. And the next time I had a flu with that constellation of symptoms, I can't think, like that. And I'm not thirsty and I don't want to talk. And I'm, that I couldn't see that my eyelids were heavy. Couldn't see it.
I'll remember when I had my first ever mastitis and I was delirious with a fever. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm delirious. That's belladonna. So I hear you. I actually, in my delirium, knew that I was delirious and knew to take belladonna.
Oh, well done. Well, that's very clever. Yeah.
It's very lucky.
And then, the last remedy is Calcarea phosphorica 6X, because I am a huge fan of the tissue salts. And Kalkfos, you could earn a living from Kalkfos 6X because it is so brilliant for children of any age during and after a growth spurt where they just flag and they've got no energy and they can't get up, they can't think, and they can't sleep, and they can't wake up. They can't fall asleep, and the next morning they can't wake up. And Kalkfos is a brilliant tonic, and they'll just jump up. And because people will say, oh, they're just being teenagers. No. They can get up. They need a bit of help. And so Kalkfos is brilliant during the growing years. It's also a specific for osteochondritis. So this is that juvenile arthritis that's often mostly in the knees, where the growth plates, because the bones are growing so fast, the growth plates can't keep up and the knees get inflamed. And there's nothing nothing can be done. They have to wait it out, take, anti-inflammatories, and it can be a year or two. And if these are athletes, these kids, they are not athletes anymore. It's really a tragedy. And Kalkfos, boom, it's just a miracle for this. So
it's amazing. And actually sorry to jump in there, but a lot of the younger kiddies, they will wake up at nighttime, like screaming their heads off and ask the mums to rub their legs and put heat packs on it. And the mums won't know what's going on. And often it's very recurring, like it'll happen once a month for years. Like I have had clients that have said, my child's done this for years, where they wake up screaming in the night and they're inconsolable, they're in so much pain, and they have to give them Panadol, which is like a paracetamol for the pain, and they don't know what to give them. And then you give them Kalkfos and suddenly that pain goes.
Yeah, growing pains. It's pretty common. And some kids suffer with it more than others. Yeah. It's like teething. So my main message is you can do it. If you struggle, take a class. There are lots now. If you're not sure or you want, you can't figure it out, join one of the Facebook groups. I mean, there's some lively stuff going on now on Facebook. It's brilliant. Mary Aspinwall's got a group, Paula Brown. I mean, these are really fabulous places to get support for home prescribing. So that's my passion, to see homeopathy more widely accepted and loved. And it's happening. So yay.
Miranda, I am sending you the biggest virtual kiss and the warmest hug across the airwaves to you. Thank you so much for your time. I know that our listeners are going to absolutely love this. We will have this on YouTube as well. And thank you so much for everything that you've done all these decades. And you will be my homeopathic goddess in my books forever and ever.
See my little halo and over wings. Thank you, Eugenie. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Chat with
Thank you. Much love to you.
Bye.